Troup, Smooch, and the Dawg Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
Wait, there it is.
Yeah.
It's the Dawg Show. It's the Dawg Show. It's the Dawg Show. It's the Dawg Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dawg Show. Your hosts, Troup Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Dumb idiots of this world.
And that's us. Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dawg Show with Troup and Smooch. We are doing this for the 100th time.
Come on.
And our biggest fan, Brooke, just let us in right there. And we know that, man, this is what we do, folks. It's been a good 99 episodes, and we are just going to get into a spectacular show tonight.
It's been so rewarding that people actually listen to this. And so the fact that we're doing episode 100, and I hope we're only about 1/50th of our way through the total episodes of this show, but you do have to stop and point out the 100th episode, because 98% of podcasts never make it to the 100th episode. So
That's right. We got a big show planned for you guys tonight. Some of the up and comers on the content field for your Georgia Bulldogs. It's a great time to be a Bulldog, and we got some good guests coming on tonight. You recognize some of the game names, I'm sure. As man, we got Eric Taylor from the Bulldawg Report, and I know you folks have listened to or watched the Bulldawg Report. The content they put out on social media is spectacular, and of course, John Tweet Sports is going to be on tonight. John Smith and from Dog Dispatch, and also his partner, Coach Hayes Hudl, is going to lend his insight and his expertise to our 100th episode. And then another podcast that Smooch has been on, and that's the Dawg House.
yes,
And that's with Trey Tucker. So he's coming on later. And then we're going to wrap the show up with our good buddy, Scott Fitzgerald, the inside slant. He did the inside slant for us for our first season.
yeah,
And so we're going to get some information from him and have him on tonight. A lot of fans are kind of checking out because we know what's going on in Athens in terms of baseball. The baseball team is just playing some great ball. They won their regional and knocked off Georgia Tech in exciting fashion to move on to the Super, which they are hosting as well this weekend. But for a lot of fans, they have checked out a little bit and said, well, I'll pick them back up in, late July, August, September. No. We don't do that. We've been having a good time over the off season, talking season, and just picking up steam heading into the season. And this is a huge couple of months for the lifeblood that is the Georgia Bulldogs, as recruiting is going off. You can make up a lot of ground, and Georgia's always in the top three, seems like, recruiting wise. Kirby Smart's always going to have you there, but man, you make up a lot of ground in these months, because this is when you have those official visits. This is where the big weekends come and all the talent comes together, and the guys, the coaching staffs that really know how to sell their program and know how to do it. Georgia does it better than anybody, by the way. This is where they make hay, and it's going to be a great couple months.
If you guys, we can sit here and tell you the Georgia recruiting program has momentum at an all-time level right now, and it just sounds like hyperbole, or it sounds like celebrate. But I can tell you guys, we know with all certainty that the Georgia recruiting program is about to blow your minds. It's coming. That's all we're going to say about it. But there's some great stuff ahead in recruiting. And so this is right about the time of year where the Georgia fans, we love to wring our hands and we love to panic. That's about to be erased. So buckle in for this next, what would you say, month to 6 weeks?
Buckle up. All you rival fan bases who were, chirping in March, because you got these guys to make a decision on a high after they came to your school.
Right.
Cream rises to the top, and nobody does it like Kirby Smart and his staff. And Georgia has, we've said it before, all the ammunition to come after these recruits and say, this is the best place to play football.
That's right.
And to develop. and they're loading up. We're going to talk a lot about tonight the upcoming season. We're going to give our guests the opportunity to talk about the upcoming season and what they anticipate from the team and what their breakout players may be and what their outlook's going to be across college football. And we may throw a couple curveballs in there that they aren't expecting and see where they land on some of those questions that are important to us. And so we just can't wait to do it.
We're just it's Georgia Bulldogs fans are a unique group, and our mission here on the Dawg Show is to bring as many of them together as possible. And so you're going to hear a large number of people together tonight talking Bulldogs football. But you know what? We've got guests lined up for the next few months. You're going to hear a lot more. And so that's kind of our mission here, is to give those guys a voice and to put them through the prism of our show and see what comes out the other side.
Yeah, we do have our own ways. Our show is definitely different than a lot of shows. We do encourage you folks to check us out on YouTube as well at the Dawg Show Pod. All across our social medias, the Dawg Show Pod, Twitter, TikTok, you can find us.
Linktree, all that, yeah.
Yes, find us, and wherever you listen, and give us a 5-star review. Let us know what you think about it. We appreciate that. That pushes our podcast forward for more people can hear it, and that's ultimately what we want to do. More people to be able to hear what we have to say and enjoy it. It's just supposed to be fun. This is the heyday, man. This is the good old days right now.
You're right in the middle
of the good old days, and we are as well. Episode 100. We're right there in the middle of the good old days. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on our first guest, Smooch.
Let's do it.
Most people who are listening to this show, probably everybody, already knows who Eric is with the Bulldawg Report, but man, his stuff on Twitter is just second to none. So good.
Yeah, it's rare, Troup, that Troup and I we follow everyone we can. All Dogs fans should follow all Dogs fans, but it's rare. I was sitting there and I saw one of the reports tweets one night, and so I followed and I go and I start looking through them, and I'm like, oh, these takes, the way you're able to combine stats, and some of them aren't ones that the average fan has even thought about, and you kind of convince the fan you needed to know this, even though you didn't know that you needed to know this. And we love your stuff, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So tell us about your content and tell us how everybody can find you.
My content's basically stat related. That's why I refer to myself as a numbers guy. I love the numbers of sports. I've always been into that. I'm on Twitter at the Dawg. On Twitter I'm at Report Bulldog, and then you can find me on Facebook under the Bulldawg Report.
Fantastic.
So good. And we were talking, and Smooch just mentioned it briefly. Is that when some of the things that you put out there, you don't really realize it's statistics and comparisons that really tickle your curiosity. It's like, I thought I felt that emotionally, but the Bulldawg Report just put it out there so clean and clear.
Yeah. And
man, you do a great job. I do want to ask you a couple questions there, Eric, as we get closer and closer. Man, this is still recruiting season, big time recruiting months in the summer before these guys make some decisions. What most excites you about this upcoming season as the Dogs prepare?
Georgia's offense. I know Kirby Smart's a defensive-minded coach, but I'm really excited about the wide receiver core that he's put together this offseason, and to go with Carson Beck. And then you have Travis Etienne that came in from Florida that gives us an explosion from the running back position I don't think we've seen since 2019 with DeAndre Swift.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. I think especially with the Etienne, we were at the spring game, and I leaned over to Troup early on. There's a surprise every year. To me, it was Etienne. I mean, we know he's good, but the home run, I guess, capability that he has, that's something sometimes you don't realize how much you've been missing something until you see it on the field, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what we've been missing. That ability to catch a screen pass and go 80 yards, type of thing.
Yeah.
And one thing it's going to help a lot. It's going to slow down pass rushers who kind of fly up the field, because if you got somebody like him, you can dump the ball off to, and then you got him the ball in space. He is a trouble. He's a problem that it's going to slow that down just a bit, I think. What you think, Eric?
Absolutely. When it comes to catching passes, he reminds me a lot of Kenny McIntosh. Now, he's faster than Kenny was, but like he gives us that dynamic part of the offense we didn't have in 2023, but Kenny gave us in 2022.
Excellent.
Yep. So I'm excited about the offense as well. And you got some of these folks. I don't necessarily say casual because that's overused, but fans that don't follow Georgia as closely, or you've heard some of the pundits say, "Well, who's that quarterback? What's that other quarterback? They're saying he's a candidate for the win for Heisman. Yeah, Beck. He's just Georgia good.
He's Georgia good."
I don't think they really know, especially in his second full season as a starter. I think you're going to see him have complete control of this offense, and Georgia is going to be able to, as long as those receivers do their job, and we got plenty of options.
Agreed.
I think the offense could be the best in this run, this era for Georgia.
Yeah. You saw what was it? The first 4 games, I think it was, we were throwing more screens than we were 20-plus yard downfield last year, and then in the last 10, that completely changed, where we were throwing a lot less screens and allowing Beck to play a lot more to the offense that Bobo actually had envisioned to beginning the season. I don't think a lot of people have looked at that. Like, we weren't playing our offense for the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
I agree.
Right.
That is
you
a
can look
fabulous
at
point.
Think about it like this. Think about it in a game where you're trying to ease a player or quarterback into getting a rhythm and to hitting the receivers and just seeing them catch the ball, get comfortable. It's kind of the way that season played out last year. The first part of the season was him getting comfortable and hitting maybe shorter passes to find his way to get the confidence. And in the second half, you really saw what he was able to do. Some of those games, was it the Florida or Tennessee game where he was making just NFL passes after NFL passes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Any breakout players on the defense, you guys? What's your thoughts defensively? Who might break out?
Dalen Everett. Like, that's my go-to every time somebody asks. I ended up having to defend him a lot last year. Interesting. He had a very solid year. Like, he was in phase a lot of times. Like, there would be a big play made on him, but he was right there in phase that the quarterback just made a good throw. I think I did a comparison of him and Kamari Lassiter from Kamari's first year, and their first years were very, very similar. So if he were to have a similar jump to what Kamari did, he'd be a very solid corner for Georgia this year.
Man, I was saying the same thing, wasn't I, Smooch?
You were saying the exact same thing. And another guy we're going to have on tonight, and Coach Hayes, he is a Dalen Everett apologist, protector, or whatever you want to call him as well. He said, you're talking about somebody that was literally within fingertips of an all-SEC, all-American season, and he gets the criticism doesn't make sense if you watch the game film.
And when a quarterback and receiver execute perfect back shoulder throw, there's nobody. What you going to do? How you stop? And some of those plays happen. Mm-hmm. And just like Eric said, I think Everett was right there in phase. And the harder things he was able to do, the things that are tougher to learn, that the instincts he has them. So I really believe that's a great call for a breakout player. It's not one that's probably popular. A lot of the Georgia fans are going to pick somebody on the defensive line or at that linebacker position, probably, unless they pick a freshman in that defensive backfield. But
no, I agree.
What about nationally, Eric? Do you have any kind of thoughts on any predictions from a bigger scale nationally? College football.
The only thing nationally that I'm thinking is not to come down on any one program, but I think if you take a team that's largely built on the transfer portal and you rank them like top, I don't want to say top 5 because top 5 could make sense, but like there's a team, and I know y'all know. I'll just go ahead and say it. Ohio State to me it's overrated slightly because you've got so many transfers coming in. That's why they rank them high, but it's also do they gel together?
Right.
Great point.
Are their personalities? Do they come together in the locker room?
Preach it.
Like I get a lot of this is on paper, and that's kind of why I don't really like preseason rankings, because a lot of it is on paper, and like I said, like these players have to come together, and I don't know. To me, I think they're a little bit overrated because we haven't seen what they are yet.
I love it. I think they're a lot overrated. I think that's exactly right. I think that the idea of building a super team in college football has never been proven that it's a possibility. You put chemistry together, and that's what makes these teams. You've got to have your superstars. You've got to have your great players. But this idea that you're just going to say, oh, we have a deficiency here, we'll get this transfer, now it's perfect. We have a deficiency here, we get this transfer, it's perfect. Troup talks about all the time on this show ifs. When your ifs start to add up, if Caleb Downs, if a freshman wide receiver takes off and has a career like you can't imagine, then this could happen. And when the ifs line up, you're playing against the odds. I think that Ohio State is hugely overrated, and they are the darlings of the early season predictions right now.
But you might not see that they're overrated because that schedule is going to be easy for them to navigate, and so they're not.
Oh, they're going to the playoff.
Easy.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this segment up,
Missouri wipes them out in the first round.
I almost called you Coach Eric Taylor, Friday Night Lights. But before we wrap this up, I got one more question for you. We heard from a very credible source that the Colorado Buffaloes, their floor was 10-2.
10-2 is our floor for sure.
10-2
is our floor.
What's your thoughts?
You might want to reverse that.
There's the clip.
I thought about y'all. Speaking of that, I thought about y'all the other day because I think I saw. I forget JD's last name, but JD for On 3, he ranked his top 10 quarterbacks coming into this year, and I think Carson was like number 2 or whatever, and I'm like, where's Shador? Number 6. So,
Number 6.
I'm just not even top 5, but yeah, I mean, 10 wins. I don't see it.
It was good. It was good. Great content, Eric. Man, if anybody's listening to our show right now that has not checked out the Bulldawg Report, man, what are you doing? What are you waiting on? Because there's some of the best stuff out there.
Yes, exactly.
And, tell us again where we can find you.
On Twitter, it's at Report Bulldawg, BULLDAWG, and then on Facebook, it's the Bulldawg Report.
Absolutely
awesome. And you got a website too with articles.
I do have a website. I've kind of gotten away from writing, but once the football season picks up, I probably will get back to that. Mainly, it's mainly been Twitter and Facebook for right now.
Yeah,
awesome. But the website's thebulldawgreport.com.
If you don't follow the Bulldawg Report, it is prodigious content. He is coming up with a way to look at something statistically, a perspective to see that you haven't thought of, and he's coming up with it constantly. Every time I pick up my phone, there's something new from Bulldawg Report. So, man, we really appreciate what you do, brother, and we really appreciate you taking your time to come on our podcast.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all too.
You got
all right, buddy. We'll talk again soon. Eric Taylor from the Bulldawg Report.
All right.
That was really good. I enjoyed having a little conversation for the first time, I guess, in person with or on video, I guess it would be, with Eric Taylor of the Bulldawg Report.
Fantastic stuff, yeah.
I like his stuff, man. And it's got, I guess, getting to know him on social media and kind of tagging each other with our content. It's been fun, and it's good. It's just excellent content. And that's what matters the most, is getting out that good content and 100%. Entertaining. Not just entertaining, but his stuff is so statistics-based, and
it's hard to argue with. Right?
It's the facts that you need when you're going into an argument with those other fans. You win back-to-back national championships. You should have everything you need. But Eric gives us a good bit more to say, okay, well, hold your horses right there, Ohio State. Or whoever, USC or Alabama. So I love that.
Loved it.
Another great guest. We've had him on once before, a few weeks ago, and I cannot wait to talk to John from John Tweet Sports. We're going to bring him on right now.
All right.
All right, Smooch, great show so far. And as
Indeed.
we move on to the next guest for our 100th episode, we have John Smith from John Tweet Sports, and we're so excited to have him on tonight. John, what's happening, brother?
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me back. I came once, and sometimes I don't get invited back when I go on people's shows, but I appreciate you having me back. I'm just glad to be here. And congrats on 100 episodes. I mean,
thank you.
Listen, most people don't make it past 10. Some people don't make it past 1. Y'all 100. That's incredible. So congrats.
Well, I appreciate it. And the thing is we had no idea what was going to happen when we started it. We're just happy to do it. At first, we were doing it for our own enjoyment, and then we started, thinking about, do people want to hear this? And luckily, enough of them have to make it, something worth doing. But to your initial point, you have an open-ended invitation to the Dawg Show anytime you want, brother.
Yeah, good times, good times. So before we really get into it, some little news out of Athens today. I want to throw it over to John, as Georgia got a commitment from a pretty good linebacker in the state of Georgia. What's his name, John?
This man's name is Zayden Walker.
That's
and
right.
I would say he's a pretty good linebacker. If you were depending on the recruiting service that you look at, he's either the number 1 or the number 2 linebacker in the entire nation. So I think that's pretty good.
That's good. That's pretty good. Yeah. Solid.
Yeah, Zayden Walker from Slade County. Listen, Glenn Schumann might be the best recruiter in America, not just at his position, but at all positions. But Georgia, has landed 7 5-star linebackers in the last 8 years, and which is just wild. I mean, there are some Georgia fans. Listen to me, You are in the good old days.
That's right.
Enjoy them because there are many, many teams that would give a lot to get 1 5-star inside linebacker in 5 years. And Georgia is getting not only 1 about every year, got 2 last year, just got Zayden Walker, just an incredible addition to this football team. And I think he's going to be right up there with Nakobe Dean. It's hard for me to put people in Roquan Smith territory, so I'm not going to do that, but he's going to be up there with the best to ever do it at Georgia by the time it's over with.
Agreed. I think that the linebackers that played running back as well do pretty well at Georgia. There's something about that skill set, that instinct, that sense for ball that I don't know if they look for it. They probably do, but something about that inherently built into the kid. They just blossom at Georgia. And we started following him. Maybe he came on my radar maybe a year and a half ago. Maybe 2 years ago, much smaller kid, and he understands that to play in the SEC what he has to do, and he's done the work. He's closing in on 230 right now, and just ready to roll. So
that was my question about him too. Yeah, the weight. You need to put some weight on.
Yeah, definitely. But what I'll say too is that Glenn Schumann. So I listened to a coach's clinic with Glenn Schumann where he's talking about he just refers to them. He doesn't refer to them as inside linebackers anymore. He refers to them as off ball backers. That's just what he calls it. And he talks specifically about the athleticism that he recruits for. And so to your point, the guys who have played 2 ways, who have specifically played running back and or quarterback, and you've seen this a couple times, a quarterback in an option offense somewhere, in the middle of Podunk, Georgia. Those guys tend to do really well. And I'll say with Zay Walker, he has the trifecta for me, which is running back, linebacker, and then he was also a track guy. And so if you have a kid he's run the 100 meters, he's done a lot of those things on the track. That is just the combination that Glenn Schumann looks for in athleticism for a linebacker.
LBU? Yeah, I think so.
Man, he's got the pin. I tweeted it. He's got Glenn Schumann has a pin he wore to the NFL draft.
Come on.
That says LBU in the Georgia Bulldog Bowl. So that guy owns it. He is not afraid to put it out there.
Wow. So let me ask you a question there, John. What excites you most about this upcoming season for Georgia? What's on your mind?
There is so much excitement for me. I think the most exciting thing is honestly probably what is was the most disappointing thing about 2023 is you have a team coming off a year where they didn't win it. They lost in the SEC championship. They didn't make the college football playoff. And now they're coming not only off of the heels of underachieving by their own standards, by Georgia standards, they are coming into the hardest schedule that Georgia has had, maybe ever, on paper at least. And that motivation, that hunger, combined with just the challenge that is before these guys, and then you have a 12-team playoff on top of it. That whole component, really, just that idea of having a team that's hungry, having a team that hasn't climbed that mountain, having a team that's had that they're coming in and Kirby Smart is looking at them and saying, hey, like, we didn't make that college football playoff last year. You just being able to use how fragile this thing can be from week to week and game to game. I'm interested to see how this team responds, interested to see how the leaders on this team actually step up. And so for me, it's just a general excitement around knowing the culture that Kirby has built and how these leaders on this team, are built, and just seeing how they respond to this challenge. It doesn't mean that Georgia's going to go 12-0 or 13-0 or 15-0 or 17-0, however many games you got to win this freaking thing now. It doesn't mean that's going to happen, but just seeing a team come off of, what feels like a little bit of a letdown, a little bit of adversity coming into a season, and all this newness and all this craziness, can they focus and get it done? That's what excites me. I'm a competitor at heart, and so I like using failure as a motivation. So I'm excited to see how these guys respond.
And it was the type of failure, right? It was not. It was not getting outclassed and blown out by another team. It was fumbling an end around. It was not being in position a couple of times. It was some clock management issues. There were so many things in that game that are just non-characteristic of what we've come to expect in recent years. And that, I would think, hopefully, they showed us against Florida State. It definitely stuck in their craw, and hopefully that carries over into this season.
Not in my box yet. Not today.
Yep. Let me ask another question. This is a little bit of an audible. If Georgia doesn't have the season they want this year, is Mike Bobo still going to be the scapegoat? Is he the whipping boy for a lot of Georgia fans for no good reason?
I mean, he is the whipping boy for no good reason. I remind people, that Todd Monken only put up 26 points on a pretty bad Missouri team in 2022 in a game that Georgia should have lost. They just happened to be playing a pretty bad Missouri team. Right. And that defense, they stopped them. You go back and look, there are certainly, even under Todd Monken, who by my standards is the best offensive coordinator that Georgia's ever had, there have been games where there have been letdowns. The challenge with Georgia is that it was the combination. It was the game that it happened. And I will also say this too: Mike Bobo, is the scapegoat. If the season doesn't go as well, it's a hard, complicated answer because it depends, right? I mean, right. Who knows if the defense gets lit up? Is it the offense? Is it the defense? I think Mike Bobo is going to be the scapegoat no matter what for a number of Georgia fans and for a big contingent of Georgia fans. Either way. I think he's like the Stetson Bennett of 2023 and 2024. Oh, great! Where you have a guy who's doesn't necessarily matter how much he achieves, that he's still gonna not be as good as people want to think that, or they're gonna claim he's not as good as he probably is. Right. But I think Mike Bobo, I think what I love about this year is I think these skill players, these wide receivers, especially that wide receiver room, and Carson Beck coming back on a second year starting, the SEC championship game. I mean, people blamed Mike Bobo when Carson Beck came off of the field and said, you saw that camera angle where he said, "What the F are we doing?" after Georgia called a run play to the short side of the field and it got blown up on a third down. And people said, even Carson Beck is wondering what play they're calling and blaming Mike Bobo. And I took that as like, no, Carson Beck, you're the freaking quarterback of this football team. Right. Like you bow your chest, you lead. And And so I think for me, I think that's what Mike Bobo was going to have this year. Is he's going to have a true leader, not just an efficient quarterback, not just a good quarterback, but a true leader in that position that has experience. And then you have the skill room along with it. And I'm excited to see what he does. That's
so good. I think that with Carson back this year, let's go all the way back. So Stetson beats Alabama, wins a national championship. There were people commenting on our stuff going, I really hope Stetson doesn't come back for this other year. There's rumored he's coming back for another year. We want to move on at the quarterback position. Well, why? And then a perfect season happens. Everybody quiets down. They're not the same player and it's not the same thing, but there is a similar buzz where this returning player takes such a step that he erases all doubt.
Yes.
There was even doubt after the Stetson national championship. There was still doubt because of the SEC championship that year. Yeah. And Carson has this opportunity to remove all the doubt forever and ride off into the sunset.
Yep. I agree.
My only question is, and we know on paper they have some weapons on offense. The running back room looks good to me in terms of just the variety and just the versatility, but also it's those wide receivers, and they got to have somebody's got to replace some of the production and the dependability that we saw with Bowers and McConkey and some of those other players. And I think they got those guys are there, but they still got to do it before we can say they've done it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've got enough experience in that skill position, right? So you are replacing Bowers and McConkey and Marcus Rosemy-Jackson are the three main ones, but you have, I mean, Dominic Lovett was an all SEC player at Missouri before he transferred to Georgia last year. Ra Thomas was Mississippi State's leading receiver before he transferred to Georgia last year. Dylan Bell, an extremely talented guy with multifaceted that has a ton of experience coming back. Oscar Delp, who has he had to step into that tight end one position when Brock Bowers was hurt for 4 games last year. You've got young guys like Anthony Evans, who has incredibly talented, coupled with Colby Young, who's a big physical guy, a lot of experience at Miami, can block, can do those types of things. And we haven't even gotten to Arian Smith taking the top off of it. You just go down the list. This isn't a group. London Humphreys, who had a ton of experience at Vanderbilt, right? It's not a group. Yes, you're replacing dependability. Yes, you're replacing, first and second round NFL talent. But I think people underestimate how much experience is coming back in that wide receiver room, especially. And also, we didn't even mention it, went through all that. Didn't even mention Ben Urasek, who was a 2-year starter at Stanford, 3-year starter at Stanford. He was hurt for one of the seasons, but a guy who has all the traits of lining up in the slot and catching the football as a tight end. I mean,
Stanford has more tight ends in the NFL than the Dogs do.
Exactly. Yeah. You talk about tight end U. Stanford definitely has a case for that. So just a ton of I wouldn't underestimate how much experience this group has and the accomplishments. I just mentioned, right? I mentioned 2 guys that were leading receivers, one of them all SEC on SEC teams before they came to Georgia. And now they're here and they're in the second year, which is really important. The second year of this system. It's all going to come down to, it always comes down to with those skilled players, is health, right? If you can stay healthy, I think the sky's the limit for this group.
Okay. Yes. Now I feel better. Thank you.
So good.
Good stuff.
There you go.
In terms of the national scale, as we wrap this segment up with you, John, any bold predictions nationally throughout college football?
Yeah, I mean, you talking about you want college football playoff? What are we looking for?
Wherever you want to do a national big picture. What do you think?
All right, national big picture. My personal opinion as we sit here in the summer of 2024 is that Georgia and Oregon are going to meet for the national championship, which might be a little bit of a curveball for people, but I think Oregon has the skill players, has an experienced quarterback from the transfer portal. I think that team's going to be really dangerous under Dan Lanning, and I think Georgia fans are going to get some real excitement in that national championship game. I would say my other maybe controversial opinion right now is I don't think Ole Miss makes the college football playoff, which a lot of people are really high on Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's, most talented roster he's ever had. And I think Lane Kiffin is gonna underachieve. So those are two national, I would say, bold takes that I'll go ahead and give you today.
I love both of those. Yes.
You think it's because of Lane Kiffin, because of the Ole Miss program, the way the roster is built in terms of transfers and portals?
I do. I think for me, I think it's that mercenary, that revolving door. It's just hard, right? It's hard. It's hard to create continuity when you have so many guys transferring in and out. And then number two, I mean, you saw this at LSU with Joe Burrow was a good example, right? Where 2018 LSU, super talented team, was not 2019 LSU. Then all of a sudden it was like boom, because second year in the program just makes such a big difference. You saw it with Texas last year, right? With Quinn Ewers, like in that group, Sark. He had talent in year one, but that year two always makes a big difference. And I think Lane Kiffin, he just can't find enough continuity to have enough pieces that are there for 2 years consecutively. Number one, and number two, I don't know how they're going to. I mean, I know they got Walter Nolan. I know they got some talented guys from the transfer portal on defense, but I don't know how you fix a defense that gave up, almost 50 to LSU, that gave up 52 to Georgia, that gave up. I mean, that defense got shelled, and that just, to me, is not something that you turn around and fix with a few guys from the transfer portal from one season to the next. It's just tough.
Well, let me piggyback on that and go in a little different direction. Then you made me think of something just now. So, if over-reliance upon the transfer portal. Though Ohio State plays no one for the most part for most of the year, they should make the playoff, of course, because they're going to be ranked number 12, even if they're 500. But let's say that in the playoff, what do you see transfer portal and over expectations for this Ohio State team that is just built by patching holes with these, quote, can't miss transfers?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I like about Ohio State that, I give Ohio State hell. I don't believe in Ryan Day. I'm not a Ryan Day believer. I'm not a Lane Kiffin believer, as you just heard. But one of the things that I am a believer in is, so Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, that guy is an incredible football coach, an incredible defensive mind. And if there's anybody that can take players from the portal and get and create personnel groupings where you have enough of experience, you have the right skill players in the right place, it's that guy. So that's number one. Number two, I do think Ryan Day, which Lane Kiffin hasn't been able to do, Ryan Day giving up play calling and giving it to Chip Kelly and just saying, like, bringing in a guy who has no pun intended, a chip on his shoulder, coming in. I do think that's going to be a big plus for Ohio State. I don't know that they've still got to figure out the quarterback. That's the biggest thing for me, is like, people are so high on Ohio State, and I'm like, I think Walter, whatever his name is, Walker Howard, is Kyle McCord with a less hot girlfriend. And so, like, you had, and maybe that works out. Like, maybe that works out in his favor because his girlfriend isn't as hot as Kyle McCord's girlfriend. Come on. Like, maybe he's not as distracted. But I think Walker Howard, it's like, I don't know, man. Is that the guy? It feels like Kyle McCord to me. And so that's the thing for me. It's like, if you couldn't win with Kyle McCord, I don't know that you're going to win, especially losing Marvin Harrison Jr., that you're going to win with Walker White, who feels like the same person.
I love it. Great.
Good stuff. Good stuff. John, tell us where we can find you. Tell us about your content.
Yeah, so you can find me at the Dawg Dispatch. So we have a show that Coach Hayes and I do weekly, Dawg Dispatch, and then you can also find me at speakeasysports.com. So Speakeasy Sports, it's college sports and high spirits. It's where we blend a little college sports, baseball, basketball, and football, and whiskeys. So we have a good time doing that show. So come check us out. Obviously, you can follow me on @JohnTweetSports on Twitter. You'll see all this content there as well. And I apologize in advance if I'm getting into it with rival fan bases. Some of them just don't know when to shut up and give up. So I just got to keep.
That's why you're here, brother.
John Tweet Sports, we appreciate you so much for coming on for our 100th episode, brother. Thanks
all
so
right,
much.
y'all. Congratulations. Really enjoyed it. And we'll see y'all soon.
Thank you, brother.
Yep. All right, another great segment in episode 100. John Smith and John Tweet Sports. Not many people do it better, and he is really killing it. Just great stuff.
He's
always
the standard we compare ourselves to, you know, and a lot of people don't know this, Troup Brinson, but he actually is still helping us, you know, just with advice and knowing the business, which we don't know it at all. We just know how to be funny and tick off Tennessee fans. But he has been a huge help, and you know, he's the measuring stick for us right now, and just awesome stuff.
Always willing to help. We do appreciate John. And the other half of the Dawg Dispatch we got coming on next. And everybody knows Coach Chris Hayes, Coach Hudl. And I'm going to bring him on right now.
Let's do it.
Coach.
Hayes, Coach. Hayes.
All right.
Woo.
Moving right along with our 100th episode of the Dawg Show with Troup and Smooch. We have our regular guest on tonight. Coach Hayes.
How's it going, guys? How's it going?
Oh, going great, brother. Yeah, man.
We're having such a good time tonight.
Good.
And just it's kind of a celebration, right, Smooch? And we just bring on some of our favorite people, and we're gonna enjoy it and talk football, and that's what it's all about. It's June, a big time in recruiting. There's some big recruiting weekends right now, and Georgia looks to be reaping some rewards and get some dividends, and that's what it's all about. Next couple months, really, for sure.
Well, Zayden Walker makes a successful recruiting cycle in and of itself. So everything else is gravy.
Exactly.
That's a man. We've been talking about it on the show, but yeah, that's a great get. And Troup, this thing has been the rewarding part for us. We were saying this the other day. We do like the fact that people will listen and ask us questions and want to get to know us or find out about the show. But what we love the most is that we get to talk to Georgia Bulldogs experts all the time. And that's, to me, the biggest reward is like you start calling all these people, would you be on our show? Okay, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. I just want to talk football with you, you know, and that's the great part. So It's been – Coach Hayes, before we get going here, it's been great, man. It's we met each other really early on. And we knew your stuff was going to blow up the first time we saw it, and we were right. So, congrats and thanks for being here.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure to be with you, too. You know, one thing that was really cool when I remember seeing y'all's work for the first time after we had kind of connected through TikTok, that I finally had some people that were beginning to appreciate me for what I was doing, maybe not necessarily the flash on the screen and things like that, but was actually appreciating the X and O breakdown things that I was doing. So, you know, when you asked me to come on the show and want to, you know, kind of just deliver what my craft was, I guess it was, I mean, I was very humbled by that, because the one thing that I always wanted to do was to connect people, and this is what we're about. You know, we're connecting people, and we've connected with each other in this process too. We're kind of aiding each other along as we continue on this wild journey in here. So I am definitely just excited for you two and what y'all are doing and the crap that y'all are building and everything that's going along with that as well. And
awesome.
I appreciate the opportunity to let me be on the show with you.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. We do enjoy having you on Team Dawg Show. And I guess the fraternity that's been growing a little bit is for us and some of these up and coming. I think we got some fast risers in terms of the content that's being put out, and some of the folks we're having on for our shows. I do want to ask you a couple questions though, Coach, as we get into it. And I mean, we're so excited, of course, about this upcoming season. Georgia didn't meet their goals last year, and they didn't fall too far off, but you know, the product was just not quite where they wanted it to be, and I think everybody saw that. Still could have been capable of winning it all, but you know, you still got to win football games. This next season, what gets you excited the most about this upcoming season as you think about it?
Getting to just play ball again, you know, getting out there and seeing some guys that we haven't seen necessarily get to play the entire season and watch their development with the veterans who are returning that have a lot of plays under their belt, a lot of series under their belt. So, it's very the anticipation of Carson Beck's season this year and how we're looking towards him having a Heisman run behind a very, very strong veteran offensive line with key players coming in from the transfer portal, along with those kids that we've been talking about that we've been getting excited about, those Anthony Evans, slot players, the Jordan Hall defensive lineman, the Raylan Wilson, just depending on if you're dealing with like Troy Bowles linebacker type play. I'm just really excited to see those pieces to the cog, just creating this mechanism that is Georgia football. And that's something that's very exciting because it's on both sides of the football. When you're 8 to 9 deep on the offensive line, when you got 6 to 7, you've got a myriad of receivers you can throw to this year. You've got 2 to 3 solid running backs that I think are going to be prolific this year as well, behind Carson Beck, who is, to me, the number 1 quarterback in the nation. He should be.
Come on.
And if he continues to, fit the profile of what we're looking at behind the solidarity of what we see on both sides of the football. So it's just exciting to see all those things kind of come together to fruition. We can anticipate and talk about it all day long, but when you see that that secondary defensive lineman that just played at spots at times, the Kristen Millers, the Jordan Halls, those kind of guys, and they're fitting all of a sudden, and you see them grow up in front of you, that's something special to see. And we've got it everywhere. That's what's beautiful. So it's veteranship and being cohesive with those guys that are coming in that want a spotlight this year that could be, those cogs that make the mechanism make the mechanism run.
I don't think we've ever asked this question.
Yeah.
Tell me a little, what is, as a football coach, what's been your expertise over your career?
My expertise started defensively. So when I started coaching, my repertoire was with the secondary. That's what I worked with first off. So as you work with the secondary, you realize that you have to transition into different things because your linebackers and your secondary complement one another. So I got into the linebacker play, which is what I moved to next. Because of that, I learned because of my linebacker fits, it just works downhill. I figured out the defensive lineman concepts and how they work off each other. So that's what allowed me to have the 5 years of experience working with DBs and linebackers that took my first defensive coordinator position. So my love and desire, because I was one of those guys that wanted to hit you so hard I made your mama hurt when I hit you on the ball field. And so it was easy for me to transition that defensively. Now, the preparatory work to me defensively is so much different than an offensive side. But like I said, when you start learning how to defense offenses, all of a sudden offense makes sense, And so it was one of those things where I wanted to move across the genre to both sides because of the fact that eventually I was looking to become a head coach. But see, I didn't start traditionally, as a coach right out of college. I was an athletic trainer for 6 years, so I didn't start coaching until I was 28. So the opportunity for me to work into a head coaching position was a little different. So I worked up to the DC position, and after 3 years, I told my head coach, I was like, listen, I really think I'm ready to head over to the offensive side of the football. I really want a chance at that if I'm ever going to be a head coach. And so he gladly obliged with me, and sure enough, my first-year quarterback was Hinton McConkey, Ladd's older brother at North Murray. So yeah, it was really cool to get a chance to work with Hinton, and Ladd at that time I think was in 6th grade. So I got a chance to know the McConkeys and that whole family, that North Murray, that group there, those kids I coached there, a phenomenal group of kids. Love that school, honestly. Yeah, I mean, if you really want to get down to it, what I love to do, when you coach against Trevor Lawrence at Cartersville, when you coach against Deshaun Watson from Gainesville, and you're looking at all these different things, the one thing that I really got good at was disguising and doing defensive schemes that would bring blitzes from different places. That's the reason why I appreciate Kirby's defensive mindset so much, because he's running half-field coverages and bringing blitzes from where you don't think they're coming from. And when you think you're in cover 4, but yet they're in cover 2, or you're in man 1 free, 2 free, whatever it may be, that's just something that I really appreciate from his perspective. He does a great job of that.
2 things I want to do with you this year. You just reminded me of it then. On offense, I want to talk about I want you to break down for us, either on our show or on yours, or we'll bring you on to do it. We'll do both, but the zone and gap, the advantages, the weaknesses, the strengths of each. And then what that is, and like I said, we don't have time to go into it here, but that strange, this amoeba between a man and zone thing they do against Tennessee, in the secondary is fascinating to me, especially that first Tennessee game when they were ranked number 1 and Georgia came out and played that defense, because that was one of the few times that I was just wrong over and over and over about what Georgia was lining up to do, and it won the game for them. But, yeah, to come soon on the Dawg Show. We're going to have Coach Hayes on to explain that. But
I would be glad to do that. And that's the one thing that was my whole mantra when I first started. What I did, dog's barking. My mentality was to take the fan, not necessarily try to talk over your head, to try to make me sound like I'm greater than that, because I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes too as well. I'm not going to have that opportunity to always be right. But I do understand the X's and O's well enough where I feel like I can connect that fan to help them have a better understanding of why that person was where they were in that play. When we're just saying, well, they just didn't make that play. They wasn't at the right spot at the right time. He was like, realistically, no, they wasn't supposed to be there because they were supposed to be covering this guy, and there's another guy that should have been there that didn't do it. And, and that's what I want to do. That's been my whole platform since I started this. But I would be glad to do that for y'all.
Yeah. What's your catchphrase? I got a graphic with it. I'll put it up right here. What is it?
Oh, it's basically connecting the fanatic to the fundamentals of football.
That's it.
Love it.
Love it.
What's a specific question here defensively? Who do you think, what player are you most excited to watch play this year defensively for Georgia?
CJ Allen. It's easy for me to say that. I've been really high on him. Of course, I've been breaking him down for the last 48 hours since I've been home. School's out. It's summertime for me, so I've been in front of my computer now for the past 3 days, just watching film of last year and figuring out, man, those guys, Raylan and him both, honestly, because the one that gets forgotten about is Smiles back too, and a lot of people don't realize that Smile is probably going to be your other linebacker. But I'm going to tell you, Raylan and CJ both, they're going to be. Realistically, they're interwoven. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a true Mike and a true Will. I think they'll rotate a lot. But CJ and Raylan, and then even Troy Bowles, I think he's another one that we could talk about that fits in that grouping as well. But CJ Allen, to me, I'm going to double dip here. Jordan Hall's another one. I really want to see what he can do on the defensive line. He is a cog to the veterans, Brinson, TID, Stackhouse, even Kristen Miller, but I think
Jordan Hall's mine as well. Yeah,
defensive line, and then looking at what C.J. Allen matures this year with a number 3 on his chest, and being that Mike linebacker. Because I'm telling you, the more I've watched of him, I hate to make comps. I really do, because every player to me is individual. But after watching him on blitz and covering people out of the backfield and how he gets to the football and how he attacks, golly bum if he's not reminiscent a little bit of Roquan. He really is. So there is honesty to that, evaluating him over a full year after JDJ went down in the Missouri game. CJ, they tried to exploit him. He was young. There was trial by fire, and we had to watch that trial by fire at times. There were some tough times with him in pass coverage and in rundown. So, CJ Allen, to me, probably if I could put one at the top of the hill, I'm really excited to see what he does at the mic next year.
Well, hopefully we'll get 2 more years, 2 more seasons of healthy football from him. And man,
yes,
that would take us. That's going to be fun to watch.
Yes, sir.
I think we all agree, even before he was on campus, C.J. Allen was a player that his coaching staff in high school talked just so many good things they said about him and his character. And then you see the athleticism as well and the leadership. We love it. I got one more question for you, Coach, as we wrap this segment up. And Smooch told me to do this.
We in trouble.
No.
It's not that
Nico Lamaleva. Nico Lamaleva, Heisman Trophy winner. Go.
Are you kidding me? If he don't get broken half first, that's going to be his first issue for me. To me, you can be the greatest quarterback in the world. If Shedeur Sanders, for example, we've talked about him on the last show I was with you guys, and how I got raked over the coals for saying he was just, the Trojan horse concept. But if he had Georgia's offensive line, Shedeur Sanders would be a top 5 quarterback. There's no doubt about that. But you can only be as good as your offensive line in front of you is. And Tennessee's offensive line, not sure really what they're bringing back, honestly, to tell you the truth. I haven't evaluated it that much. But, you're going to throw the ball the way that, Josh Heupel wants you to throw in that gimmicky offense. And, to me, I don't know really what he's going to do, to tell you honest truth. He is, to me, a massive question mark for me. You got one sample really from the bowl game last year, and everybody's excited about a couple of little things that he did. But if I'm not mistaken,
Milton
didn't he score running the ball a few times?
Yeah.
I don't even know if there was there one touchdown pass he threw maybe?
I think it might have been. But remember when Milton had that game against Clemson in the bowl game, and they were ready to give him the Heisman, and then you know.
Well, I don't see that happening. You know, you talk about a good offensive line around him, a good complementary running game, and some receivers to throw to. I mean, it can't just be on the quarterback. To me, that's the reason why, you know, we talk about Carson Beck being his Heisman potential. But if you look at what surrounds him,
that's right.
That's the reason why he fits that profile. I just don't know Nico can do that this year. Doesn't say that he ain't got great arm talent. He's obviously what he is for a reason. But you got to surround yourself with other people to make that potential come out.
Yeah, I
Coach
think
is such a hater.
Yeah, he
I
is
know,
indeed.
right?
Such a hater.
I think with Nico, what I look at Hooker and I look at Milton, and those were thick guys. Those were hardy guys, and they got beaten. Do you remember? I can remember Hendon Hooker dragging his body off the field after he played Georgia for 4 quarters. I can't imagine Nico's frame taking that kind of punishment, and I think it's going to be worse because I think they're going to be more reliant on that part of his game.
And if they're going to make, that's what I was about to say, if they're going to isolate the quarterback in the run game for him, I mean, he's not just playing Georgia; he's playing an SEC schedule. It could be Georgia, it could be anybody. Honestly, to tell you the truth, he is going to get the crap beat out of him, and it's hard to throw the football when you hurt. You know, so it's going to be a tough one for him if he thinks it's just all going to be on his arm. And that's unfortunately just irrational view from a lot of Tennessee fans that just they see the relevance of a great quarterback, but they don't see what's surrounding him. So we'll just see what happens.
Tennessee fans
never line up, do they?
Irrational Tennessee fans?
I tried to keep that G-rated for you for those people out there listening.
Well, we'll have some time. We have some time for that. We can devote a whole podcast to those Tennessee fans.
I think we do. I think we bring a few of them on. Yeah,
that's right, Coach. Yep. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
Where can we find you, first of all, Coach?
There you go.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on all social media outlets at Coach Hayes Hudl. Hudl spelled Hudl. I primarily work out of Twitter and YouTube, but I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. And I can't thank you guys enough again for having me on and for being a part of this for me, as well as letting me just be a little part of y'all's lives in here, too. And I just want to wish you guys a happy 100th and many, many, many more to come from that.
Thank you so much, brother. We love
That's Coach Hayes Hudl, and must follow. If you're a Bulldog fan, he is absolutely killing it. It's only going to get better as the season gets here. Thank you so much, brother, for being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
See you, brother.
See you, bro. All right, moving right along. It's been a great night so far, Smooch.
Indeed,
and we're having a good time on the 100th episode of the Dawg Show with Troup and Smooch. And another awesome guest coming on from the Dawg House. We got Trey Tucker. Trey, how are you, brother?
Doing pretty well. Really appreciate you guys having me on. The 100th episode coming on. It's a great night here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and ready to talk some ball.
Oh, come on.
Talk about the Dogs, man.
Yeah,
them dogs. Hey, it's baseball season. Dogs are still playing, and so it's fun to get excited about baseball for once because we're huge baseball fans, and now the Dogs are playing late in the postseason. We love it.
Yeah.
Charlie Condit enthusiast. Let's go. Hitting bombs. It was great beating the Nerds the other night.
Yeah. Oh, and it was the way that Georgia beat them because they thought they had that game. And really, that play at first base with the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth was ridiculous. Right. And I thought for sure they're going to review it and say, "Oh, he missed first baseball."
I did too. I was out walking my dog, watching the game on my phone, and so I had to stop and put it up where I could see. Did he get the base? Did he get the bag? And he did. So
he got it. Well, Trey, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your content? Where can we find it?
Yeah, first off, so I've been doing YouTube probably since 2016. A lot of it, I'll say at first, was hate to say a lot of cringeworthy. It was audio, but within the last year, helped with my girlfriend, we've really stepped up our game. Had a lot of great guests. Part of the college Hudl recently, which is a great community. There's a representative in each state, so I think that's going to be great collaboration coming up. But I had a lot of great guests, especially had Smooch on earlier this year, and just being great collaborating. But I'm on Dawg House Talk on Twitter. I don't like calling it X, Twitter. Also, we're on Dawg House Podcast on YouTube. Got 365 subscribers on the road to 1,000. Hopefully get monetized. That's the goal.
You consider it done
we're also
now.
on Instagram, the Dawg House Podcast, and we're on Spotify. So, yeah, I appreciate that shout out.
Love it. Love it. We're all about this is a brotherhood, my friend, and we enjoy getting together and pushing each other's content because, frankly, folks need to see it. I think there's some really worthwhile content makers out there, and we had a few on tonight already. We're kind of continuing that, and folks need to see it, man. There's some good stuff going. It's a great time to be a Georgia Bulldog too.
Oh, it is.
That's not lost at all. But as we get into some of the questions, we've been kind of thinking about this coming season, 2024, and we all think the Dogs are poised to do some great things. But Trey, what kind of gets you going? What gets you excited when you think about this upcoming season?
Yeah, first off, I think it's going to be great to have Carson Beck back. It was great to get him back, even though he's driving around Lambo and going on spending sprees. I will say, looked a little sluggish in the first half of the spring game, but it is a spring game. Looked really good in the second half. But anyway, first off, great to have him back. Heisman Trophy candidate, so I think we're poised there. Go ahead and make a bold prediction because I know that was one.
Yeah.
I think Dominique Lovett will get over 1,000 yards, first 1,000-yard receiver since Terrence Edwards. I think he's got a really great because he's great across the middle, getting the dink and dunk pass. Also can get downfield. And another one is I think Trevor Etienne. Really excited. I know there's Lazarus Stinking Gators are still a little salty, but he's going to get over 1,000 rushing yards. So very excited about that. Know it's going to be hard. Replacing Brock Bowers, but I think we got Oscar Delt, we got Lawson Lucky, got the Eurosec kid from Stanford, and some other young guys going to be great there. O-line's going to be great, probably one of the best in the nation. So I think, we got some really great skill position at receiver, so I'm excited about it. And then on defense, I think Malachi Williams is going to get his head straight finally, possibly over 10 sacks. And then Malachi Starks, he's going to have an all SEC conference, and we got some young boys back there, KC Bolden and some other guys. So yeah, very excited about it.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that I know I was going to agree. I think that the Dominic Lovett, that was one of mine as well. I think that guy. I think that two things. I don't want to say held him back because he had a fine year last year, but he's behind Bowers and McConkey, and he was waiting his turn. He's learning the offense. I think that when he's the man or one of the mans, I really expect a big year from him. And you couple that with the offensive line that you hit on, giving Carson Beck, who's in his second year in this system, more time. And I think if Ladd McConkey would have been here this year and stayed healthy, he'd have 1,000 yards, just like I think Lovett's going to do it this year. I think it's the state the team is at, and Lovett's going to be the recipient of it. I agree 100%.
What about when they – last week when they put that little snippet, a little bit of a teaser with some of the gameplay from NCAA 2025, and you saw Etienne with the ball, and what did they do that on purpose? Where he juked a Florida player and scored a touchdown? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Had to be on purpose. Hey, Troup and I were at the spring game, and we don't go in looking, the known commodities, we just kind of check boxes. Okay, there's Carson. He can throw the ball, blah, 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 blah. But when the second time Etienne got the ball, I think it was a pass. And I looked over at Troup and I said, I just realized how much we've been missing this.
He's going to be a problem. That be a problem.
Yeah, that type of guy. And you're spot on with the Etienne.
Yeah, gave me Swift vibes a little bit.
Yes.
You're the third person to say that tonight. So
yeah, it's kind of funny. Some of these same questions we're talking about, the conversation, you're seeing a trend, a pattern, Smooch, as it were.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia fans are realizing that second year of Carson Beck, especially with the line of scrimmage and the weapons that he has from the running back position, and Etienne, obviously a weapon, and then you got those bruisers in there too, Robertson, and Georgia has weapons all over the place.
Not to mention those kids coming in. You saw that picture of Phillips, Frazier, and Chauncey.
Yeah, Bowens
the other day. Those are the new kids.
Second season, I think a lot of Georgia fans are starting to see, because we saw what Stetson Bennett did in this second season. And Smooch mentioned earlier, Trey, that there were a lot of Georgia fans. Maybe we even had some questions after Stetson won his first national championship. He had a great second half, great fourth quarter. But we were a lot of people were like, well, okay, Stetson, we appreciate that. Awesome. Now it's somebody else's turn. And he came back, and a lot of people weren't quite so sure if that was the right decision for the Georgia program. But that second season just means so much to get all those reps in practice, to get all that, just have command of the offense. So I think you got a chance to see Carson Beck have a special season for the Dogs.
Definitely. In second year in the offense, he knows he's going to be the man again this year, coming back. Mike Bobo. I think he even in the past, Hudson Mason when he played, Aaron Murray when they stayed even longer in each year, learned the playbook. Also, I'll go back to Dominique Lovin's second year. Ra Thomas will be the second year in the program learning it. I think that's going to be really key. Offensive lineman. And then it's always good to have a second year under the belt. And then Carson's waited his turn. We got to give him that. He's been through
100%
sitting with Monken and then Bobo. So I think he's just, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to have a great year.
So I got to pose another question for you here. This is a curveball. So hope you're ready.
Okay.
Graham Mertz, Shedeur Sanders. Go. Who you taking?
I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders. God bless him with that O-line if he makes it through there. I like him because he's more mobile, can run around a little bit, more athletic. So that's who I go with.
Okay. We were giving you an opportunity to say something that we could, we got our friends who are Shedeur, Colorado Coach Prime believers. Right. And he's a good player.
He really is.
We just want opportunity to call in some receipts down the road with some of these fan bases, and so we gave you the opportunity.
I got a quick receipt before you throw it out. So hey, Billy Napier, we know dead man walking. But how about this for the Florida game? ATN gets over 100 yards, 2-3 touchdowns, and then we're sticking it to him 42-10, and then they put Jaden Rashada in. Throws a long bomb with a touchdown. Just
because
digging it
I would
in
die
there.
from joy. I would die from joy.
So
Gunnar Stockton in the third quarter, and then Rashada in the fourth, right?
Exactly. So Kirby's keeping receipts, and if the Gators get blown out, he might not make it. He might not make it back to the airport or wherever they're traveling.
The same thing.
Yeah, I really do. I don't think he'll finish the season. I really don't. And the fact that you could have Chauncey, who was a flip from Florida, and you got Etienne, and then Rashada. Oh my gosh, it just writes itself. But yeah, right. I don't think he does. I think that they give him early in the season. They'll get in a close game. They'll eke out a victory. Everybody's going to get behind him. And then the first time he has a flop against a team they should beat, which is going to be within the first 3 games.
What you heard us 2 weeks ago on our show, right? Because Dooley, what's his name, was saying they got to win their first 5 games. So if they win their first 5 games, and those are not sure wins for Florida, they aren't. Right. They might be. Yeah. If they win 3 of them, that will be a success. Yeah. But then they got to find a way to win those 4 out of their next 7.
7. Yeah, they're trying to figure out a way for Florida to make the playoff, and I was
Pat Dooley.
Pat Dooley, yeah, it's adorable. I think Pat understood he was performing a complex mathematical equation.
Fuzzy, it's fuzzy.
Yeah, a little fuzzy in there. This required some sort of suspension of belief. So,
yeah, man, we've been having a good time tonight, and Trey, man, we thank you so much. We've been following your stuff, and we are fortunate to count you as one of our friends, and we
really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime you need us, give us a holler, man. Tell us again where we can find you.
Yeah, at Dawg House Podcast on YouTube, also on Twitter at Dawg House Talk, and on Instagram, the Dawg House Podcast.
Perfect.
Yeah, if you don't mind, real quick, I want to make another little bold. Just one.
Do it, brother.
One overall 2024. So Alabama goes 9-3, goes to the Outback Bowl.
Ooh.
Doesn't even sniff Atlanta, 9-3, and Cable DeBoer, a little warm seat. I know that's a big buyout. So anyway, I like them 9-3. I just think you got Milroy, and that defense looked bad in the spring, and 9-3, they're going to take some losses.
So not a DeBoer believer.
I like it.
Not at all.
We
had to get a warm body, and he took it.
We have an archive for these kinds of quotes, man. Yeah, hot take. Yeah, we'll archive it, and when you're proven right, man, we will we will spare no expense in getting the word out there.
Sorry, one real quick one, because I was just thinking, hey, Shane Beamer gets fired later this year, or really hot seat. Shane Beamer on the hot seat, because he's been saying some weird stuff, and I think they're getting a little impatient there in Columbia. Just saying.
Yeah,
you do say some strange stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's no observable momentum there. It's just hard. They can't get a foothold. But
right,
man,
yeah.
hey, thanks for giving us
your time
tonight.
Really appreciate
brother,
you guys.
Man.
Thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, brother, we love it,
brother.
Man. Love your stuff.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Our next guest, Smooch, is Scott Fitzgerald, and he's a lifelong friend of mine, and he's very connected with the Georgia program. His daughter is a gymnast there,
a gym dog.
And yeah. So we're gonna bring him on next and talk a little Georgia football. Here we finally get Scott Fitzgerald back on the podcast as we hit episode 100. It is good to see you, my man. And you look like you are, just looking at the video, you are on site in Athens.
I am on site, so I am at the intramural fields. We just got finished up playing 5 games of dog ball, so we got the buses in the background pulling off. I'm here with my son at Kirby Smart football camp. We just went 5-0 on the night. I think we got a chance to get in the championship game. Yep. So we'll see. They'll play that in the stadium in the morning. But this camp is not shocking. This camp runs as smooth as UGA football. It is crazy as many kids as they have here and how smooth this thing is. It's nuts.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Scott, because this is a big time of year for Georgia, and they have been putting on a show each weekend with the recruits coming in. Nobody does it better than Kirby Smart's program. And you saw today where they got a big commitment from 5-star linebacker Zayden Walker. What's your thoughts on that and what Kirby's doing this summer weekends recruiting?
Well, I think they actually like it better now that the calendar's changed, because they can put more of their efforts into recruiting now in the summer, even though it's during the camps and around the camps. It's all kind of built in. They're here, so it's like a natural evolution. And it'll give them more time to focus during during games for preparation to play football. Imagine that, right? So they actually like a few changes in the calendar. Don't seem stressed about it at all. But it's just. You can come to. I haven't been in this camp in a couple of years. We were on vacation last year. Philip came the year before, but I wasn't here. And then I was here with Harrison several years ago. But what I'll tell you is, it is mind-boggling. I don't think people, if you will come to this camp knowing that they've got, they're sold out before anybody hits submit. They're sold out from the wait list from the previous year. Mm-hmm. And to run this thing as smooth as it runs, it is crazy. But it's not crazy to me, because it just shows you what Georgia football is all about. I mean, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. Even if there's weather involved, they've got a backup plan. There's always a contingency. And you would never, and if there's stuff going on behind the scenes that are not going well, which I'm sure there are, like a duck paddling underneath fast, you don't see it. So it's just a testament to this whole staff and this whole operation. I mean, they run this camp obviously with the same principles in mind and process that they run the football. Yeah. And the coaches here, man, 99% of these kids, or 98% or whatever, they'll never play pro football. Some of them will play college football, but it doesn't matter. These coaches, they pour into these kids like they're coaching a 5-star athlete.
Oh,
it is wild.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, and the Kirby's here. I mean, they're all here. Schumann, they're all here, man. They're not just name. His name is not on the camp. I mean, they're here, present, and accounted for. Mm-hmm. And he's on that microphone all day, just wearing people out. So it's a fun time of the year, man. But yeah, that was a big commit today, and especially with all that's going on with NIL and everything and all the stuff. But
last week,
one thing that keeps going, Georgia football just keeps on turning along.
There
baby.
You go.
So I heard some things last week, Scott, and because was there some kind of a camp or workouts last week, and then it got fed right into a recruiting weekend. So some players elected to show up and work out with the Dogs on like Thursday, even before their visits. Did you hear anything about that?
I didn't hear anything about that. I came to the baseball game Sunday night, and for first game I've been to all year, I've been keeping up with them, but I was like, man, I got to go because anyway, it was phenomenal atmosphere. A lot of the football players were up on the roof of the football facility looking down. I mean, it's awesome. So you had that excitement going on, and Sunday night, I guess you would have still had recruits here maybe. So just being all in that excitement was cool. I'm sure Kirby was at the game. He usually is at most of those when he can make it. But just a lot of good stuff going on the campus right now, and I'm sure they're taking advantage of. And the weather's been really good, so they're taking advantage of everything they can take advantage of.
Yeah, we've heard that this past couple of weeks are paying huge dividends. You may not see them right now, but you may see them soon. But just the way that they've conducted these. I mean, you get
the
these guys on
standard they
campus
conduct everything with, right? The
standard.
standard.
Kind of what you're saying. Everything is elite. Everything is top notch.
Everything's elite.
Yep.
Hey, you're either elite or you're not, right?
There you go, man.
Elite focus.
And so we're having a good time watching that. And I got a question or two for you, Scott. And we've posed this to some of our other interviewers today, and because we're diehard Georgia fans, and so we see the big picture. We see some of the smaller stuff too, especially you. What do you, when you look at this next coming season, and Georgia didn't quite meet their standard? The result didn't play out at the end of the season that they wanted. But what most excites you about this next coming season for Georgia?
What most excites me is how good I think, how much improvement I think we're going to make from game one until the playoff time. I think we'll be a really, really good football team out of the gate. We've shown, and I'll just kind of hit on a few points that'll kind of tell you why I'm thinking this. But
yes,
one thing normally that happens with Georgia football, unless there injuries happen, which we can't control that, and maybe you have a deficiency like we were a little deficient on the front four last year. But we typically get much better as the season goes. That's just Kirby Smart coach football team. I will tell you that the wide receiver group, you can throw the tight ends in here if you want. We don't have a Brock Bowers, but we've got as deep a pass catching group as that's ever been on campus. So the challenge there is going to be, okay, who are my guys going to be, right? But we got a lot to do. We might not have a guy like the guy Ohio State maybe just signed right out of the gate, but we got a lot of dudes. So that's exciting. Offensive line, probably the most talented offensive line we've ever had. You could probably take our second string line, and our second string line would literally start for a lot of teams in college football.
Wow.
It all starts up front. I think we're going to be fine at running back. Etienne's a good kid. He's paid the price, but he's got a point to prove, and he's kind of showing out. Roderick Robinson, I saw him yesterday. He looks like hold on. I tell you what he looks like. He looks like that tree right there. So he is going to hurt some people's feelings, and some people are going to have to make some business decisions in front of him this year. And I think one of the freshmen will play. And be great if Branson's healthy. We'll have to see what happens there. But I think one of those freshmen are going to contribute. Mm-hmm. Quarterback, we know what we got there. Beck is elite. You just got to, hope, knock on wood and cross your fingers he stays healthy. Gunner will be a good backup, but he's not, you're going to take a step back, obviously, if you were to have to replace Beck. Sure. We're talking about probably a, top 5 pick, and I think he'll show everybody that. Defensively, our linebacker core is absolutely scary, and our secondary will be scary. I think if our linebacker core this year, from top to bottom, we're all in check. Like right now, last year they probably could have covered up a little more of the deficiency we had up front.
We've had that conversation,
moving Michael, to the edge, and then interior wise, we're going to be fine. And here's what I think will happen. I think why we'll be a better team at the end of the year. I think the guys behind the guys that are going to be initially in the starting lineup are more talented kids. But they gotta kind of figure out, how do they mesh in that rotation, and once they get that down, it's going to be hell to pay come playoff time. And our secondary is going to be really good.
Yeah, of course.
Secondary is going. You got Malachi back there. KJ Bolin's going to be a stud. You got, we got Julian Humphrey, who looks great. We're going to be really good in the back end. So I say all that to say, we may not have a Brock Bowers, but we are 1 through 85, and I would throw the walk-ons in there. There's no question it's the most talented roster we've ever had, ever.
Wow.
And you also get so many marquee games this year to prove it. Yeah. And so any doubters, Carson Beck or whoever, you're going to be, the spotlight is on Georgia with these games this season. And so we're here for it because, like you said, I think Georgia's the most talented roster, and that gives you the opportunity to prove it. And the ultimate proof is how you finish your season, whether you win a national championship. Things can happen with that, but we think Georgia's definitely set up to do that. I do have a question. Kalen DeBoer, Alabama. Are you buying? Are they going to be able? Is he going to be able to get the physical, the smash mouth that Saban is known for, and then had to kind of switch to after being a finesse team for 2 or 3 years? Or how's that program? What do you expect to see out of them in the next year?
Well, I mean, they're still Alabama, and their roster is extremely talented. But I think Smooch said it best maybe a couple of weeks ago. You don't lose Nick Saban and get better.
Right.
So I feel like the standard that we have and what we've integrated here is superior to probably anybody in the country. And, I know Ohio State's got a very talented roster. Michigan had a very talented team last year. They were kind of set up, if we weren't going to win it, to kind of make a run. They were a very veteran team, not sold on Ryan Day just because, I can't get the helium sounding voice out of my head every time I think about it winning the championship. That's all I can think about. So I can't really take him seriously, right? I just think about him dyeing his hair and his beard and then that voice. So I'm like, surely they can't make it.
There you go.
But I don't,
I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe.
This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I think you should put a video together with him doing that, and then LeBron flopping right beside him. He's a big Ohio State guy.
That's right.
So as long as those two guys are married, they're not winning any kind of championship, man. So anyway, they'll be good, Troup, but I just can't see them. I mean, I think they're scared. I think their fan base is scared, and I think they're worried. And I don't really think they know what to expect, to be quite honest. But
interesting.
I'm glad that game's pretty early. I mean, we got them pretty early, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm glad it's pretty early, and I'm kind of glad it's on the road because I really want to go in there and say, hey, okay, here's the deal. There's no question. You kind of caught us at a bad time last year, and some things didn't go our way in the championship game. But we're the new king of the hill. And don't you think Kirby Smart is going to be? He should not be intimidated. He should not feel pressure. Does not have Saban on the other side.
He doesn't have any respect for a coach. That's there.
It's time to end that whole debate.
Well, the thing about that game, as I've looked at it, Georgia, of course, starts out against Clemson. Georgia will have been tested against a quality team. The first quality team Alabama plays is Georgia. Yeah. And that, I think, could be the very difference in that game because they're not going to know what they have in DeBoer. They're not going to know what they have on the offense. They're not going to know what they have in Milroe until they play Georgia. And that's a dangerous place
and they're not gonna have been hit like that either.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And very rarely do coaching staffs come in and it just click right away.
Yeah. Very tough. Very tough. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I mean, you don't ever count them out, and we're kind of jaded. I mean, what are we 46-2 in our last 48 games? I think both of those also are Alabama, right?
That's not bad. Yeah. We were just trying to get a sound clip that we could use just to go to Alabama fans who are going to listen later. And so thanks. I think Scott give us a little bit.
Yeah. What's your give us
Alabama fans, how about this? We're not going to show up on that day.
Love it. That's it. Did you know what that is? The grammatical device he just used? That's called a litotes. It's when you use
I love it.
When you negate a negative, a litotes, just so you know.
How many whiskey sours have you had?
That's just basic
you could not
grammar.
have had more than one and still say that word.
Litotes.
Scott is on set or on the scene right now in Athens, and we're doing episode 100. We thank you so much for coming on, Scott. We got to have you on more in the near future as we embark towards 200, right?
Yeah, I'll have a little more time. It just last several months have been crazy with just responsibilities and stuff. But I've been enjoyed coming on. Oh, and we also have the best punter in America, and we got a guy that can kick field goals. So I mean, he don't ever get to punt, but if he does, he's pretty good.
Good stuff. Scott Fitzgerald, thank you very much, brother.
Appreciate it. Can't wait to listen to the rest of the show. See you guys.
Thanks,
See you
buddy.
soon, man.
Peace out. Bye.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, Scott Fitzgerald, man, so nice to have him on. And Smooch, we've been teasing episode 100 for a while, slowly creeping up on it, and we're here. And what an amazing show tonight! I appreciate everybody who's been on. I hope all you fans enjoy it.
You don't hear anyone that doesn't think the trajectory of the Dawgs is on the way up, and there's no other team in college football that has been on the upward trajectory for multiple years right now. And so that's the exciting part about everything you heard tonight. And for episode 200, let's do twice as many guests. Who knows?
Yeah, and people say this, and Smooch has said it, and some of our other friends have said it, that you are in the good old days right now. Don't wait to figure out you're in the good old days like we usually do when we look back, because Kirby Smart, thank you, Kirby Smart, he is doing it like nobody else does it. And that's not just our podcast saying it. We're homers. We love it. And other fan bases say similar things, but there ain't nobody else who puts together a product and a program like Kirby Smart and his group. And man, it's fun to be a part of it. We, in our small part that we play in dog football, whatever, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, podcasting, it's all together. It's all an experience. We do appreciate you fans so much for giving us this platform and allowing us to come to you, and we want to bring you what you want to hear. We hope tonight that we enlightened you somewhat, entertained you as well.
There you go. It makes me think of, I remember hearing of Elvis, and there would never be another musician like Elvis. And that's your Nick Saban, right? That's the original, the GOAT, the guy of this generation. But then came the Beatles right behind them. And that's really where Kirby Smart takes up this whole thing. And when you talk about being in the good old days, it's exactly right. You're in the middle of them. 35, 40 years from now, you'll say, there was this guy named Saban, and everybody thought he was the GOAT, and then right behind him came this guy that erased everything he ever did. And Kirby is well ahead of Saban's pace. You're right in the middle of it. And the Dawg Show, God willing, is going to be here for every single bit of the Kirby dynasty.
Dynasty, yes, that's right. We're embark on a third national championship in the Kirby Smart era this coming season, and we can't wait. We are enjoying the recruiting, and we had Zayden Walker commit today. We expect a few more commits in the next few weeks.
A little more than a few, but that's as far as we can
get. Yeah. I've already been on social media during this podcast talking to USC fans, and
I saw that. That was good.
No, multitasking. That's how we do it at the Dawg Show. Thanks again, folks. Episode 100, moving towards now episode 200, and we are so excited. Smooch, for Smooch Moncrief and all our guests tonight, we thank you so much, and we'll look to see you on social media. This is Troup Brinson saying so long. Episode 100 in the books.
It's done.
This is the Dawg Show with Troup and Smooch.
Dawg Show, it's the Dawg Show, it's the Dawg Show, it's the Dawg Show.
Who died and made you queen of football?